This is a little not on the scholarly path necessarily, but it's more of like I guess an objective claim of mine, and I'd like to get your personal opinion. Mm-hmm. And that is, for people who claim, and I used to be this way, I think I was just as fundamentalist evangelical. I'd have probably bought this back 12, 13 years ago. Mm-hmm. For people who claim to be following the truth, mm-hmm. this does not seem to be following that kind of path.
Yeah, and this is where cognitive dissonance comes into play. And I hate to use big words without explaining them, so I want to explain this. I was raised, and there's no secret about this. I talk about this a lot with my audience. I was raised as what we could say now is a fundamentalist Christian. I was raised as a conservative, confessional person in the Churches of Christ. I don't know if you're familiar with the Churches of Christ, mm-hmm. the conservative ones, and these were good people. They loved me. I loved them. It was a good community. Loved my parents. They raised me with what they knew, and I was a good kid. And so all that is the disclaimer. But it was a conservative understanding of the Bible. If the Bible said it, I believe it, that settles it. I understand where Dr. Stripling is coming from. I lived in that world. I then went to seminary and did the typical things that you do when you go to seminary. You start asking questions and you don't get the answers you like. And why does that say this? And I had the time to learn my way out of that conservative understanding. And then I changed a lot of things going forward. And then I went and got 3 masters and a doctorate. And now I'm a critical scholar. I don't buy that, right? You do what the archaeology says. You do what the science says. You're a critical scholar, not a conservative confessional scholar. So I know that world. So I say all that to say, I understand that world. I grew up in it. I grew up in that world. There's a cognitive dissonance that says everything that I know and that I believe, and it's not just a belief, it's part of your identity, right? I need to believe this thing over here because it's who I am. It's what I believe. I believe in God. I believe in, my political party. I believe in my family. It's all woven together. And then you're faced with information. The earth is not flat, right? Or you're given some other information. And then you have to try to reconcile 2 irreconcilable things. And some people are able to do this for a long time. Some people just do it for the rest of their lives. And we call it cognitive dissonance. They just learn to balance and wrestle with these 2 irreconcilable things. And for other people, there comes a point where they have to make a decision. And I think a lot of people who are in the conservative, confessional, evangelical, fundamentalist even camp of Christianity see things like this and they go, oh, this is a faithful Christian man. I'm going to believe it. See, finally, we found this evidence. And then when a bunch of, liberal scholars, liberal academics come in and poo-poo it, right, and just dismiss it, they want to lash out and get mad at those guys because, well, they're just they hate Jesus, right? They hate. But deep down inside, they're like, I wonder if this thing is really legit. And that's why I think it's important to go directly to the public and to say, I'm not calling names. I'm not trying to make fun. I know your world. I know how you feel. I felt the same way. Let me tell you what I found. That there's a way of looking at these things. And I like to point out the archaeological discoveries that corroborate the Bible every chance I get. There are lots of them. There are lots of people doing archaeology in Israel that are discovering things that corroborate, that prove, let's say, or support the claims made in the Bible. And then there are others that don't. And that's what I like to do, is point out the ones that don't, point out the ones that do, and we have this discussion. This is one of those discoveries that has no business being out there. There's nothing to this Mount Ebal discovery. It's complete bunk. There's nothing there. This is a PR campaign. And the only way that you're going to expose it is to continue to shed light on it, to do what you're doing. To do what you're doing is to talk to scholars who are showing a different opinion, who actually know that world, and who can say, I know what you want to believe. I want to believe it too. Man, I want this thing to be real. I really do, but it's not. It's just not.
So to get into the psychology here, if tomorrow we did find some 1,000-year-old 1,000 BCE, 1,200 BCE inscription that had the name Yahoo, you would be giddy as all get out. You'd be like, oh my goodness, here's the name of the God, of course, again, and here we found it in this region. It might uplift what we've had about our ideas of where Yahweh comes from. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that we're trying to discover. There's still a huge mystery on ultimately knowing. I know that there's debates, is my point, on where Yahweh comes from. Is this a Midianite deity that kind of is nomadic that what if we found this inscription of this Yahweh somewhere north or something, like, whoa, what happened? You know what I mean? You're saying that would be exciting to you, but the way this has all gone down is just kind of guilty looking in a way of not fairly doing this the right way.
Correct. I would not only welcome such a discovery, I would make videos about it. I would championing it. I would try to get interviews with the people. These are my colleagues, right? I'm a tenured professor at an R1 research institution, right? I know all these guys. I know the people out there digging. I've visited their sites. Some of them I've dug with, right? If they found something like that, I'd want to be interviewing them. I'd want to promote them, right? I would want my former publication, Biblical Archaeology Review, they'd be publishing them, right? All of the newspapers in Israel, Haaretz and the Times of Israel and J-Post, they would be I would want that, right? If it's done properly. We want legitimate discoveries, especially the ones that corroborate the stuff that's the Bible's claiming. I love that stuff. So it's not that we're just trying to prove that the Bible is not true, blah, blah. It's not that at all. I want legitimate discoveries that shed light on the world of the Bible. We all want that. What we don't want are false claims. What we don't want are spurious claims and bad methodology. And that's what you've got with this Mount Ebal inscription. Again, look at who's supporting it. And look at who's either saying nothing or look at who's talking against it. The only people who are supporting it are people in that confessional fundamentalist camp. That's the only people. Everyone else is trying to get some information about it or learn about it out in the open media. You're not seeing you're not going to see a discussion about this at SBL at the national conference. And ASOR is not going to host a thing on the Mount Ebal inscription. It's not a legitimate find. It's just not. And people just need to understand that.
Bob, I feel like we've covered it. I don't know. There's probably several things you could discuss about it. Mm-hmm. Is there anything that comes to mind that you absolutely should get off your chest about this inscription?
No, I made 4 videos about it. You can, if you go over to the Excavator YouTube site, you're welcome to go through them. I mean, on one of them, I just take their picture, the rendering, and I take their scan and I just superimpose them. And I just say, I keep looking at the camera going, look at this. They don't even, their drawing doesn't even match their own scan. They're just making this up. And again, I'm not saying that to make fun of them. I'm not mocking them. I'm not trying to. It's just when you go public with this stuff and you haven't run it through peer review and you haven't asked other scholars, hey, let's put it this way. When I come up with an idea, right? When I come up with hey, I think this is a legit thing. I think I want to, first thing I do is I bring in my grad students and I say, tell me why I'm wrong. Blow this up. Tell me why I'm wrong. Then I go to my colleagues that I trust, my closest confidants, and I say, why is this bad? Why is this wrong? I need you to shut me down. I need you to blow this up. And then if I can't, then I'll propose a paper. Then I'll go to all the scholars at the national conference and I'll say, here's my idea. And I'll get the questions from the people who do not like me, right? Or who don't like, what angle I'm taking. And I'll get some feedback. And then I'll try to publish this as an article. And then I'll get the feedback from the article. That's the proper approach. You want to go at this negatively. Very careful, very methodically. What you don't do is have some claim that you think fits your theological predisposition, and then go straight to the media so that you can sell tickets and you can recruit people to your seminary and recruit people to come dig with you. And then you have this happen where, scholars are just shaking their heads or not responding to you at all. And you just get, basically laughed out of the room, in this case, out of YouTube.
I really appreciate your time today and sharing this. Everyone who's watching, do yourself a favor and MythVision, go subscribe to Dr. Cargill's YouTube channel. It is in the description. Check out his website, subscribe to the website. I just did this morning so that I could be notified, newsletter of anything that comes up. Is there anything you're working on right now that you can give us a sneak peek?
I have the Bible and Archaeology website, which we're trying to continue to write. We're trying to put out a new online course based on my book, Cities of the Bible. I teach that course at Iowa, but we're going to make this available to the public coming this fall. I have a couple of shows coming out this summer, one on Netflix on holy relics, which ought to be fun. You can take a guess at which position, whether I believe in the relics and their power or whether I'm kind of the debunker. And then I'm on a bunch of more episodes of History's Greatest Mysteries on the History Channel.
I seriously appreciate your time. Everybody subscribe. Go check out the blog. Go check out his websites. They're all in the description. And I hope to have you back to discuss your books. They really pique my interest. I love learning about this material, and I love the Bible, actually. Just like I would not say there's one love above the other, but because I'm so familiar with it, I guess there's this kind of a bias there. But I love it like I would love any ancient history today. And I think my world has expanded like yours. It was no longer this little bubble that I lived in growing up. Right. It's a much bigger world out there. And I care about what, the Canaanites thought, what they worshiped, what they believed, what were their myths, the Egyptians, the Assyrians, the, Phoenicians, the Hittites. I'm curious to know all of these things because it's no longer, in my view, this is the one true only thing. It's like, hold on. This is a human experience. Why not learn about humans in general? There's something, and there's also something, in my opinion, by doing that knocks down the us versus them mentality, and we can come together on it. But thank you so much, Bob. I appreciate you.
I'm happy to be here, and I share your joy and your desire to learn about our common humanity.